I do feel sorry for each individual that's got their particular issues as far as taking the vaccine, the businesses that are being affected by the restrictions that are being brought in. But at the end of the day, I support the restrictions that are being brought in. I believe that the Cho, as he's called, the Chief Health Officer, is making a decision that's based on the majority of the community. We don't want high amounts of people getting the virus at the same time. We have to slow it as much as possible. There is absolute evidence there that shows that unvaccinated people are at more risk of catching it. There is evidence there that show that the unvaccinated people can pass it on easier than vaccinated people because their viral loads are higher. So by taking them out of the equation in tight social settings, he's hoping to, of course, slow down the infection rate, which therefore assists the hospitals. And that's what it all comes down to. Hospital beds, how many people can be saved? If you go by New South Wales infection rates, it was about 12 to 14% of people that got COVID ended up wanting or needing some sort of hospital assistance. Of those, 1,000 of them, roughly needed ICU beds. We don't have that. We've got 18 beds in this region. So do the maths. Where are these people going? How are they going to cope with it? That's just the unvaccinated ones. If you look at the vaccinated ones as well, the vaccination does not stop you from getting sick. Okay, it all it does is assist your body fight it. So hopefully your body can fight it before you become too sick. But some people that are elder, even though they got the vaccine, they could well become quite ill with it. So it's absolutely imperative that the Chief Health Officer has put in the recommendations that he has. And I think, we have to remember the fact that COVID is not over. COVID's only just starting up here. If you look at New South Wales and Victoria, they've gone through this process and we've sat back having our lives. Everything's been happy and normal whilst they've gone through this hell. And, I think it's something that we have to prepare ourselves that this is going to not be an easy ride. It's foolish to pretend that, these things aren't going to happen, because they are. People are going to get sick. Employees will be sick. They will be off work. We're complaining because you can't employ someone who's not vaccinated. Well, they're not going to be working if they're sick anyway. And if they are sick, they're going to be infecting people who have been vaccinated. So therefore, you're going to lose more people. It's a continuous cycle, and who knows? There's no crystal ball. We don't know what the actual answer may be, but the Chief Health Officer has to make decisions based on the best facts that he's got. And he can't be that wrong if New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, Northern Territory are all doing the same things. It comes across as logic sense if that's the case.
You had a protest today, maybe 150 people, maybe slightly less, and quite orderly, but you had the police here as well.
Well, we have to take all precautions, because the staff have to be protected. You don't know what's going to happen. It's a very emotive thing. The people, there have been people that have got quite sick from the vaccinations, and they've got a story to tell. And when they tell that story, other people can get angry from it, and again, things could roll. So it's better to be safe than sorry. The police are they're the ones that are going to be mandating this at the end of the day. So they need to be involved and need to see these things. So I'm certainly glad we had their support. At the end of the day, we are a body corporate basically that sits within the state government legislation. We are part of the state government in that respect. So there's only so much that we can do. This is the Chief Health Officer's mandate. It's got nothing to do. The Premier can't override him in a lot of senses. Once the ministers have agreed that this is a health emergency, the Chief Health Officer, he's got control of this. So us little councillors down here, in a shire of 12,000 people, they're not going to care. And I know it's the wrong words to say. They do obviously care about these situations, but the majority of the people is their concern. The Chief Health Officer has made that decision, that call, and that's what's going to happen.
The big picture. The government's mandate, a little bit of confusion around it. I hope in the future that we know whether businesses can be taken to court by their staff or by the community for discrimination. This is stuff you still need to sort out.
Yeah. I mean, the Premier's made it very clear in that respect that once the health order has been made, that the businesses would be protected under the health order. Businesses that are not under the health order, like unfortunately, in New South Wales and Victoria, hairdressers and beauty salons are covered under the health order as well. In Queensland, they're not going to be. So a hairdresser, for example, can't put a sign on his door saying only vaccinated people can come here. Okay, because that would be discriminating in that sense, unless he can justify that he cannot reduce or have these social distancing requirements that are needed to keep his staff safe. So, there's things that you have to look at, but I absolutely advise people to get their own legal advice on it if they're concerned.
Peter McEwen's another one who's, he has the Temptations Cafe, and he's worried about how he's going to police this and how he's going to police it with his staff.
Yeah. I wrote to the Premier back on the 9th of November when this first came out, and she responded that, they're expecting businesses to do the best they can, okay, to have the signage up, to check people as they're coming in. If a person refuses to show it to them, you're not going to put your staff in danger, okay? You've got to look at the situation the same as a hotel owner would with intoxicated people. It's their responsibility if someone's intoxicated in their property to remove them. If someone is unvaccinated and could potentially cause a risk to your customers, it's your job to have them removed. That's not your job to do it. You call the police. If the police are available, they come. If they don't, then there's not much you can do about it. And, I understand the mandates, and if you've done the best you can, and as the wording she gave to me was can do, may do, it's everyone has to do the best they can. And that's, I think what's asked of the businesses to absolutely to police the fact that, they don't want other people in their businesses getting sick unnecessarily. So, just randomly go around to the tables checking for people's vaccines. If they won't show it to you, there's not much you can do about it except for calling the police. If the police are too busy, as the Premier said in a letter, they've got to prioritise themselves and what's the most important thing. But I do know that I got a message today saying that on the 17th, they are going to be doing a lot of advertising. So businesses are fully aware of what the situation is, and people will be fully aware of what the situation is. And that the police will be, doing their best to enforce it to start with as well, which, is a police matter more so than it is a little cafe owner.
Yeah. You did nut out a letter, all of you, to the government about the concerns, and basically that was the concerns of the community as a council.
Yeah.
They ask you, or they tell you they have concerns, and so you've nutted out that letter as a collective, which was good, I thought.
Well, and that's what I was hoping to do, to get it up front at the start of the meeting so we can discuss it, get it sorted, get it finalised, so we didn't have to go through the whole meeting knowing that was still coming up. And we successfully did it, which I was very happy that we've got a compromise, and we've found points that we believe will cover all councillors anyway. And then we can write a letter to the state, just making sure they're aware of the concerns that people in our community have, and certainly the concerns of the businesses up here.
Well, you took an hour to do that. It was a lot of talk. Now, application for permanent road closure adjoining lot 204 on Captain Cook Highway at Killaloe.
Yep, just the prawn farm there, the entrance road there. It just goes to a dead end, which is the business itself, so they're not wanting people to go down there unnecessarily, and they're going to put a nice round turnings area there and, fix the road up so it looks like a decent road for them to use for their employers.
Okay, and then sort of some, we had council grants, we had fees and charges, Mossman Pool and Caravan Park, subsidised fitness, Activate.
Well, the Activate program's been a really successful program. Unfortunately, the funding that we're getting for it's finished, and we don't want to lose it altogether. So we've tried to do it with a lesser fee as possible. As like one of the activities, the aerobics, I think in the park is $5, for a session, rather than having it free, because we're not having that grant funding anymore. So included those fees in so that we're able to charge people.
Okay, capital works, utility charges, rating matters, any interesting stuff in there?
Well, we had received quite a few complaints, of course, from people over the river. We introduced this financial year putting rubbish bin collection up there, and each business was allocated so many bins. And we got some feedback from some of the business saying that the proportionate amounts of the rubbish bins they didn't feel was fair and correct. So we've just made a couple adjustments there and that. So we'll run that for the next 6 months to see how that goes and get a bit more feedback before we go to the next budget. And if need be, we can look at it further then.
Revised budget, financial report